So on the BMT acupuncture page, we used special classes to make this indented title feature. If we go to the edit pages, we see it's an H4 tag. And if we go up and we did it under the style H tags and special classes, and if we go to H4 tags, here we can hit the display styles and we get the parsed values of the styles. So the width itself was set at 200px. Set a padding top, bottom, font value, font weight, and a font color. We set it for italics and then set a max width of 400px. On view screens under 400px, the width is 100%. So if we go ahead and look at that, we see on view screens under 400px, it occupies 100% of the post width. And then over 400px, they're occupying the 200px. The reason is that the text becomes too narrowing on view screen sizes less than 400px, so we set up that max width. Now if we go down and we look at the text, what we can do to set up special classes is we put the H4 tags in manually for the text we want to style, putting in the opening H4 tag, and the closing H4 tag. And we can do that in normal text area mode, where we can freely add HTML tags. The other way we can do it, instead of putting them in manually, initiate TinyMCE, highlight the text we wish to style, go to the Format option, and then go to the H4 tag, submit, there it is. Class names are also applied with the Format option. So we have the set of the H tags, then we have 12 classes, and then down here we can choose whether it's a span class, a division class, or a P element class. Now if we go to the video page, we see another example of special classes. This divider was set up with a special class, and we used a special class instead of top border for this particular text post because we didn't want it to occupy 100% of post space. We wanted it to share about 98%. And if we go to the editor page for that and we click into it, we see we set up a My Class 5 class. But instead, we can go ahead and style any class name in any post or in any column. In this case, we can make the class an HR tag instead of a My Class option, and we can go ahead and use any parent column to do that. And doing it this way, the actual styles will be directly available in the clone content without needing to be in the page configs. So we'll take a look at two methods to do this. Now there's no need to use the My Class 5's class name if we want to reserve that for other uses. We're going to change the class name to MyLine1. So we go into the text area and we'll make that change. Go down to the styles. Now under the display styles there's a special tag and class styles that we can view. So this lists all the special classes up in the page options that are configured. And we'll go to the My Class 5 and we're going to copy that. So we'll go down to the advanced styles and then we're going to paste it into the advanced style text area. So looking at the default selector for a post, it's a lot of specificity. It uses the ID instead of a class name specific for that particular post. And then in general it has a dot post which is in all post types other than nested columns. And then it also has the post type as a class name. And notice there are no spaces between the IDs and the class names. And that denotes all are pointing to the specificity of the opening division tag for the post. Well, we're going to open up the additional selector and put in the class name that we want to use. But here we're going to give it a space, put in myline1, so it's space dot myline1. And the space denotes looking for an element within the previous portion of the selector. And that'll set up the special class. We don't need to use a media at media max width or min width. We hit submit, refresh our editor page. Okay, there we see the line. And we see it has the same styling, except this time it's for myline1. So that's it. We could have left it at myClass5 unless we needed to free it up for other purposes. Another way to do it would be to go back to the class name. So instead of a myline1 class, we're going to make it an HR tag. So we remove our class and we just put in an HR tag. And we can go up to the columns and we could similarly style it using the advanced styles. But this time in the CSS additional selector, we would put in a space.post and then a space HR instead of putting in a particular class name. But if we didn't have the styles already to copy, the way to do it is to go to the column styles. Then we would go to the group and tag style option and add the individual styles through the editor. For instance, we could go to the width option, choose alternative units, and then put in 98% here. We would go to the left and right margins, and we would check the margin auto box for these. And then we would go down to the border options and put in 3px, choose black, and we would choose a top border. And then any HR tag within this column would have these styles. And then like this, we would get the same effect. There's also lots of different ways we can use special classes. Let's take one more look at one such use. We're going to go to a different website. Well, here's another example of using special classes. This is a setup we used to demonstrate RWD. The column itself was initiated for masonry to help pack the posts within it. Pretty much set up as an equal width. And the way it's set up, the vertical images have more surface area than the horizontally oriented images. So we're going to use special classes on each of the vertical images just to narrow it a little bit further. But instead of narrowing the whole post, which is already set for RWD widths, we'll make a relative width change by targeting the image tag, the element containing the image within the post. And that way, if we set it to say 80%, it'll be relative to the main widths already set for the various viewport widths. Let's see how we can do that and see if that's an improvement or not. Now we're going to go up. We're going to go back to the edit pages. So if we go to the post settings, we see here we can add a custom class name. Now the posts already have class names. And every post has a specific class name used as the primary CSS selector for the general styler. And it also has other class names which can be used as different selectors. Nested columns have an additional nested class name, and other post types have an additional post class name. There's also class names for the type of posts, but you can add a custom class name here and then style it specifically to affect particular posts that you put this class name into. So we'll name the custom class image mod. We'll add the class name to each of the 4 vertical oriented images. We're going to create the styles for the image mod class. We'll do it in the advanced styles, and we can either do it 4 times, once in each of the images, or we can do it just once up in the parent column. So we'll do it up in the parent column. Okay, so we go to column settings, column styling, and then advanced style options. First thing we see is it already has a advanced style set up, and it's set up for a margin top and bottom 6px. It's also set up so it affects the posts within the column and not the column itself. Looking to a specific ID name, it's actually the same name as the class name, except here we use the ID name, which gives it more specificity than the general styles which use the class name. But we put in a selector suffix by using a combinator which specifies only direct children and then .post. So it's saying within this column, look for direct children with the class name post. We could have also put in just a space .post because all posts within this column are direct child. Well, we'll do that here. We'll put in space.post, and then we'll put in .imageMod with no space. So that means we're styling all posts with the class name of post and ImageMod. So that'll affect our 4 vertical images. And then space image. So we're actually styling the image tag. By doing it that way, it doesn't replace the domain width setting made in these posts, but instead acts relative to it. Okay, we'll set the width to 77%. Now we can set the media query so it takes effect at a particular viewport width, but we'll pass on that. Hit submit. Alright, there it is. We see the images are now relatively sized at the various viewport widths for those vertical oriented images. And then we can decide whether or not we like that effect or want to adjust it. So that's about it for special classes. We'll move on to global styling.